It's been this headliney thing of like, okay, it's the YouTube generation of like directors is here. We went from like the Sundance generation in the 90s and 2000s and the launch of those directors. And then now it's this like YouTube generation. I think there is like some distinction there though, when we think about this, because YouTube's also so massive and the creator economy is so massive. And what do we mean by that and what could take away from that? Welcome back to Denoised. Addy, how you doing?
Good to see you, sir. Yeah. I barely saw you at AI on the
last
lot.
week. Exactly. But yeah, everyone's like, how's AI on the lot? And I was like, I was in the back rooms of Culver Theater for 2 days straight. So I only saw the after party stuff.
I was doing the fun part for you, just schmoozing with everyone.
How'd it go for you?
It was, man, shout out to Todd and the AI on the lot team, Corinne. This year was so much bigger than last year. As you know, you were there barely. The team took over 3 or 4 different studio lots, including Studio 15, which is the big Amazon giant volume. A lot of the keynotes were there. And it's not just about the size. Of course, there was thousands of people. The entire thing was sold out, but it still felt really intimate and like you still knew everybody. The technical sessions were still relatively small where you can ask questions. People were well fed and sort of there was stuff to do afterwards. Before and it's like the opposite of NAB or CES where it's like this giant corporate thing. This feels like it's homebrewed, but at the same time it is getting bigger and we'll see what happens, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, the one comment, especially people that had been in previous years, was like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and this was like the biggest, I think 2,000 people at its peak were there, which is crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, Todd's pulled off a great event. Mike, Ames, Kelly, the whole team.
Ames.
Awesome
Shout out
job.
to Ames.
Yeah.
If I see Ames in a headset, you run in the other direction. Yeah.
I'd have to call her some stuff, and I'm like, oh, this feels so low with what other stuff she's dealing with. I feel bad calling her.
I know.
But no, they were great. But yeah, to your point, it was like everyone involved in AI in some respect is there.
Yeah, and even like I met a lot of people. So I get a text from a friend from Netflix, and he's like, "Hey, are you at AI on the lot? I'm here." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we meet up by the coffee and the coconuts. You know where I'm talking about. And he's like, "Look, I know nothing about AI, and that's why I'm here." And that is my point. It's like, if you don't know anything about AI, it's not too late to just come in cold. I think that's a great event for you to just come in cold, look at the panels, meet people, get a gauge on things. So I thought that was really interesting that we're still having a lot of entrances into this industry.
Well, I think that's kind of a common theme and sort of the big turning point this year compared to previous years where there's more things actually in production using AI. Yep. It's more open. And it's also kind of clear that it's here, it's coming, it's not going away. It's not like it's proved itself in some capacity. It's only to keep getting better. And so anyone that was on the fence about it is now like, okay, I got to like figure out what the deal is about this.
Yeah,
and
to just kind of
like, I got to figure this out.
Yes, to make your point about it's not going away, like it's not a bad thing. Like that one quarterback who keeps coming back to high school even though he's graduated. Like it's not going away in that sense. I think it's not going away in the sense that people are really being warmed up to how usable it is and how it actually shortcuts a lot of things that you didn't think were valuable. And now you're finding that it is actually quite valuable. So I think in that sense, it's not going away because it's just really eye-opening how valuable certain aspects of AI are.
All right, we want to talk about some of the bigger announcements that happened at AI on the lot that came out of it. Mm-hmm. First one, opening one, Amazon MGM. It was at Amazon MGM. They were the host. So they kicked it off with their big announcement, which was a new Gen AI Creators Fund, which undisclosed amount, but basically they're kind of piloting 3 different animation projects, and then also talked about the announcement of their internal pipeline tool that they've been developing that is supposed to kind of put Gen AI in a usable pipeline for creation or development of projects, starting with animation, but then also developing or working on a live action short or pilot.
Yeah, tell us about the 3 projects.
Yeah, so the 3 projects, and I'm not too much in the animation field, so I did not know any of these people, but I know George is it George or Jorge?
I believe
George?
it's Jorge.
Is it Jorge? Okay.
Yeah.
But Jorge is a famous animator and has a big following. And so the announcements were Jorge Gutierrez was doing a short called Punky Duck. The second one was by Albie Hecht at Pocket Watch, creating a short called Love Diana Music Hunters. And then the third one was by BuzzFeed Studios, called Cupcake and Friends.
Right.
Now, the one that took most of the attention and a lot of heat was Jorge Gutierrez. He got a bunch of online backlash and hatred for partnering and using AI in animation. And then he ultimately dropped out of the program.
Dang. That's crazy. I don't know if this is rumorville or not, but I heard he was receiving death threats.
I think he posted. I mean, not only him, but his family. I think he might have been getting doxxed.
Yikes.
His kids. So, like, I mean, that's just creepy and just like, just unacceptable. And I mean, for people to get so upset about that, and also just the complete lack still of understanding of like what this means. Mm-hmm. And there's just still so many misconceptions of like, what he's going to sit at a computer and type out, make me an animated film and then get something. And it's like, no, it's using it as the in-between, or using it in conjunction with him, his team, his talents, developing the characters, and just making something that would be too expensive to do otherwise, most likely, or not get funded, and to do it at the same quality level that he did before, but using tools to speed up that process. And I'm assuming, just do it with a smaller team that can get funded. Anyways, that's the nuance. We know this. Online mob, does not like nuance. And just the fact that they just like have death threats and all this crazy stuff. It's just look, insane.
It's an animated movie, guys. It's going to be about farts and like silly things. Like, there's no need for that level of escalation. The other thing I'll say is, he's not the first AI director to be publicly attached to a big budget project. Of course, we talked about Darren Aronofsky, and there's a couple of other big Hollywood directors that are tied to AI films. I think what his now I could be wrong here, but I think what I heard was he was very anti-AI and a staunch opponent of AI previously, and then he essentially switched his stance, and I think that is what caused a lot of the backlash. But nevertheless, like, that doesn't justify any of the death threats and threats against his family. That's far too excessive. But I think there is some nuance to that as well.
No, and I mean, also, if you're like, okay, if he was an anti-AI person before, and then he does change his view, then wouldn't that bring more curiosity of, okay, what did he see, or why did he decide to change?
Yeah, you're allowed to change your mind. Right?
You're allowed to have a preconceived notion, but then find out more information and change your opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought that was quite alarming. Going back to the Amazon slate, though, it feels like they're kind of, I don't know, they're copying Netflix a little bit. The second project screams K-pop Demon Hunters.
As I read that, I was like, wait, is this a K-pop Demon Hunter thing?
But I guess it does make sense that even though the initiative is for both live action and animation, they're starting with animation because, as we all know, animation is going to be a lot easier, relatively speaking, to get to a final quality than live action is.
Yeah, we know it's pretty much there. The tools are pretty much there.
Yeah. Well, at least for, I would say, like a step below a Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks level feature. Like, if it's a feature film that's made by, $10 million by a studio in China or a studio in India, I think that's a tier 2 quality, and that is probably achievable by AI today. But like the tier 1 where, it's like Toy Story 5 or whatever, like that is still, I think, a couple of years out.
And so their internal tool, AI production platform, it's called Project Nara, and being made available exclusively to creators. The company describes Project Nara as a collaborative workspace designed for teams that integrates AI production agents with production tools creators already use, such as Maya, Blender, Nuke, Unreal, Adobe suite of products. It is built around a model-agnostic architecture.
Nice. This reminds me of Nimble Studio, which was AWS's version of a studio in the cloud.
Maybe it's evolution of that.
Maybe it's some bits and pieces of that with a new AI tool set built on top of it. But I can bet money on this that whatever Amazon is thinking is heavily based on AWS capability, and it's giant cloud play for them.
Oh yeah, they're a partner. They're officially a partner in this too, which I mean obviously makes sense.
Obviously,
you're a big studio with one of the biggest cloud platform and tool set. Yeah. So why would you not leverage that?
Which is actually, Joey, it's also interesting because a lot of studios, because of ethics concerns and privacy concerns, and as you know, IP is super secretive stuff, they kind of want to run AI inside of their four closed walls, and like, even though this tool may be built for Amazon, I don't know if this is conducive for the way other studios think and operate. So if they're looking to expand beyond Amazon and just kind of like offer this tool set to other studios, it may not be set up correctly for that, just to guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to eventually test Project Nara and then offer it as a service thing on AWS, sort of like Bedrock, maybe, but this is such a small market and that's such a bespoke pipeline system that, I don't know if it would make sense that would be a self-serve deployable product, but maybe there'll be elements there that do. Who knows? Sure.
And I know a lot of other studios are working on getting like Maya and Blender and Unreal and all of our favorite tools up on the cloud. But do you really have to? I mean, come on, like they work on the desktop just fine.
I mean, if you're a cloud provider who sells virtual machines, right? Then yes, you would say, yeah, sure, why not? Of course you want it, but. Yeah, cloud costs can get pretty pricey. So
I mean, we're at nice. Yes, GPUs are expensive, but on the flip side, workstations, professional workstations are super affordable now. Like anybody can power a decent Unreal or Maya rig at home better than they could ever before.
And the other thing too is that this feels a little bit like when Amazon Prime first kicked off, where they're just like, we'll just do pilots and then kind of see what works. All of these funds, the Gemini Creator Funds, the grants are for creators to make proof of concept pilots and shorts. The studio then decides which of those to greenlight into full projects. So they're just doing one-off episodes right now. And then in addition to the animated series, Amazon MGM Studios is working with another creator developing a live-action short. They declined to identify who.
Live action.
But we also have
short.
seen we've seen that pipeline already that they've talked about with Moses, and John Irwin's project. That
House of David
is already. No, House of David was the one, but then Moses was the other series with Ben Kingsley that they just promoted. That was the hybrid shot on the volume, Gen AI backgrounds, but also shot people and used like motion transfer for performance capture. So we've already seen them do this publicly. I'm assuming it's going to be a similar-ish workflow.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the live action short. And it's interesting that that's a short and not a feature length or episodic length. They're just like investing less into it than they are with animated stuff.
I think it's, like small bets now, see what works, validate the pipeline, and then when you're like, okay, it works, then it's like, okay, go do it. Go make the full thing.
Yeah.
Other big announcement was from Dreamina, which had a big presence there. Dreamina is ByteDance's like public-facing platform to use Cdance and Cdream and all
it's
that.
It's like the Google Flow equivalent of ByteDance,
Yeah, exactly. So they announced Octo, which was sort of another agentic workflow tool that kind of, I think we've been seeing this trend more and more with more tools where it's a chatbot that sort of lives in the platform, canvas-based, and then you start describing what you want, and it starts either figuring out if it needs to make images, videos, if it needs to make character sheets first, and then make the video.
Right.
So, they launched their own version that runs on the platform and also is tied into Cdance.
Yeah, this is to help with the ideation phase before you actually start to make anything. It's like, how do you hash out a story? How do you fully develop characters? How do you figure out?
It's a way to make stuff too. If you're fully making an AI project, it's making images, making videos, and figuring out the stuff you need to make that.
It's powerful because Cdance, as you know, already has like multi-shot capability within it from one single generation, and if you tie that with an agentic front end, you can potentially have like a very fast velocity output to have entire sequences done in one go.
So that launched. We talked about this when they announced it, the Luma agents. And we were like, what is it?
Right.
What does this do?
Exactly.
So I spoke to them a bit, And the thing that was interesting about agents was, and it wasn't clear at first, was it is model agnostic. So it is a separate platform, and it seems similar-ish to Octo, but same idea where you have a chatbot, you can talk to it, tell it what you need. But then it is supposed to figure out like what the best model is for what you're trying to do, and it'll like call up and use that model. So I thought it was like just entirely working on Luma's platform or Luma's different models.
You think it's like some elaborate just Claude skill or something?
I think at the core, a lot of these things are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a chatbot
like
with
a
like a
Gemini
lot of like
gen.
pre-baked stuff of like how to write based on the model, how to structure the prompt, or how to choose the prompt. Like I think it's a lot of like instructions under the hood that's just calling up different things.
Yeah, it's like a giant context
I wasn't
window.
aware that. Yeah, I just wasn't aware that Luma's agents also worked with other models. I thought it was kind of keeping you on their platform.
Well, that's smart. That's smart of them to do, right? They see the agentic product as something that could sell outside their own ecosystem, right? If it's good enough. So, it's a smart move.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been seeing this is kind of coming to every tool, like some sort of agentic sidekick thing. So we've got Dreamina Octo, we've got Luma agents, we've got Flow agents.
But it's also like kind of built in. Like if you look at Google Omni, like it has some of this agentic reasoning behavior built in. So, you say something really vague, like make me a commercial about a water bottle from France, and it'll make you like a 10-shot 30-second commercial, and it's going through it, devising what each of the shots are, what the initial frame of those shots should be, and then generating each shot as a video, and then editing it all together, then generating sound. And like some of them are baked into it, and this is sort of separated out. I'm not sure which is better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I still think if you're just going directly to the model and giving it a prompt versus this sort of orchestration, which I think if you kind of have been in this for a while and know what you're doing, like you can piece the things together. But if you don't know, but also if you're just trying to do like things quicker, it will, like I gave that example with Flow where it's like, okay, create like 10 shots of a dude in a field, but from different angles. And so it knew that it needed the consistency, so then it made reference images of the person, reference images of the field first, and then put those two together to make the shots. And so it deconstructed the process that it needed, where if I just type that into Gemini, it would just give me 10 different images. If that, it might just give me one image of a guy in a field, but it would give me 10 completely different images of a different person, different field. And so these agents help guide that with like all of the elements that you need to do the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah. The proof will
As
be
one
in the
example.
pudding. Like how useful it actually is, I think will come down to how capable they are.
Doesn't understand. I
Yeah.
have messed with a little bit of Luma agents, and some things worked kind of cool, and other things I was like,
Right.
it's
It's just like any other,
what I
like
was trying to
you put
do.
an LLM up against a real world problem. I think it is really good at being a knowledge base, right? Like if you want to look up, I don't know, the GDP of Brazil from 2014 versus what it is today, adjust for inflation, Like it's good at doing that thing. But when you ask it to come up with the emotional tone for Act 2, that's uncharted territory.
Yeah. And I think these things are good at, like if you're trying to create a lot of options quickly, batch options, very good at that.
Yes.
Can understand that. But if you're like, give me this character arc
I think it is actually useful. So, obviously not a writer, not a developer, but if you have a core idea and you want variations of it, like 10 different variations on like the 10 shots and just see how each one of them flow. This is a way to get quantity up, like volume of stuff up real quickly. But to actually ideate and like turn a spark into a fully fleshed out script, I don't know if that will ever be AI, to be honest, or should it be AI, right?
Or you're just going to get, I mean, if you do use AI, you're just getting the average of everything. And it's like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're trying to churn it out, you're doing the millionth vertical short, then maybe it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, if you're trying to do something Obsession or Backrooms.
I have a friend who just started as a creative director at a micro drama startup. And I think he'll take offense to that because he puts a lot of thought and energy into each micro drama he makes. Like it's not automated by any means.
No, and I mean, those things take a lot of gaming design to just structure the stories and hook you, and then like give you enough and then like get you on the hook enough to then turn out money to find out what happens. So I'm not trying to diss the verticals. But if they start scaling up, because there was a lot of talk of just fully AI generated verticals, and so if they're like, okay, we want to scale that up to making a bunch of different verticals and different genres, probably going to have generated scripts in that realm too.
The more I look into this territory, this is a really interesting stuff like Dreamina and Luma Agent and, like even Google Omni to some extent. The more I look into the pre-generation part of the pipeline, the more I'm convinced that we're not going to lose our jobs. Like, you absolutely need people.
At the core of all these, you still need people that know, like, have taste and know what they're doing to control this stuff. Anything else with AI on the lot?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to a couple of our fans who I met in person. It was such a pleasant experience. And of course, I told them the most cliche thing. I was like, thank you, but like and subscribe. Okay. And I even dropped, I was like, Joey would like that too, so do it. But
I have never told someone that in the real world, so that's all I knew.
And then met up with Matt Workman. Shout out to Matt. Finally met him in person. Met so many people that I have not seen in like 5 years, sometimes 10 years. And now they're boomeranging back into AI. So when I left the studio world about, almost 10 years ago, a lot of them were in diverting into what I would call like consumer technology, like, Instagram and Meta and TikTok and like those companies. And now they're fully boomeranging back into AI startups within big studios. So for example, the Amazon one, and there's others, right? So like there's all these incubations happening at the same time. And a lot of those people were at AI on the lot.
People just coming back.
Yeah.
Were they out of the industry entirely, or were they just sort of like on the fence? Or
I think,
pause period because there just wasn't a lot happening, but now there's like stuff happening again.
Well, this predates streaming, right? 10 years ago, but like the shift away from box office revenue into non like streaming revenue or cable revenue and all this other stuff, like this started to erode away our business a long time ago, and I think a lot of people back then saw this as a sign to kind of just take their M&E knowledge and take it to other industries. So like there's people at Apple who are doing 3D renderings of the AirPods, right? They're modelers and riggers from animation studios. Now that there's so much energy and investment back into M&E, they're a couple of them are like coming back. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Good. I mean, I think that was a trend, or, like talking to people that kind of, most of the common trend, probably 80% of the people, it was like no one wants to spend less money. It was more like we want to spend the same money, but we want to get more out of it.
Yep.
So it was like, we want to spend $100 million, but we want to get 10 films out of that instead of one film, as an example. But like that was the general trend. And like, okay, maybe the crews will be smaller, but there'll be more stuff happening. So there's still like equalish amounts of work. That's the optimistic view, and hopefully, but I mean, in general, that's what even like just kind of studio people were like, we just want more stuff with the same money, not less stuff.
I think yes, I agree with you. I'll take it a step further. I don't think it's about saving money, because the studios just want a hit, and they know that spending $100 million is not going to get them a hit. So the way to kind of...
it's a big gamble.
Right.
It's a big gamble.
And that's kind of segues into our next segment. But
we'll talk about next.
It's like, okay, if $100 million is not going to guarantee me a return on my investment, then can I do $10 million things, and then one of those will hit to $200 million, and it pays for everything, and it makes me revenue, right? So they're like at a blackjack table, and they're doubling down, tripling down, That's what it feels like. You like and
the other ones too. It's a good gambling.
That week you were in Vegas.
And the other ones, they don't have. You mean the 2 weeks? The 2 weeks I was in Vegas. 2 weeks too long. And the other ones, lower bar to be, at least just break even, and then if they take off, cool, great, awesome. Then you get
and the other
another
I think the far more valuable thing for a studio is not sort of day-to-day profit and loss. Like they can sustain the hits. Obviously, we see this with Disney's and Warner Brothers. Like they take $100 million loss, no problem. The reason they can do that is because they have the IP library, which is recurring revenue for them in the form of toys or licensing, what have you, right? So if their chances of hitting gold with new IP with $10 million shows increases by 10x, they want that. And if AI gives them that, they'll invest in AI.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I think that was the common vibe. There were a couple other vibes that were all commercials are going to be generated, and we're not going to have any production for commercials ever again. I heard that.
That was the buzz around the lot. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of commercials will be automated for sure. And then there will be this snooze fest that'll happen with the public, where we're just going to be inundated with automated content that we're just going to kind of snooze on that stuff. And what we're going to seek out are the special handmade stuff. Like, think of the Super Bowl commercials. Like, how much? Like, I don't even watch football, but I tune in for the Super Bowl commercials, right? Because those are works of art sometimes.
Yeah, I think if you want to stand out, then it'll be like some bespoke.
So our appetite for handmade content and sort of curated artsy stuff will only go up as we get more and more inundated with automated content.
Yeah, it'll stand out from all the noise because there's just going to be a lot more noise
100%
coming out. Okay, we keep hinting about alluding to this. So let's talk. This is usually not our foray, but let's talk about box office this weekend, because I think there are things to extract from this that also tie into AI and hybrid production and just the future of content and media creation. Crazy box office weekend. Started last Wednesday when Obsession on Wednesday, I think it was, beat out that day in the box office Mandalorian, and then it just kept going. And by the end of this weekend, box office totals, Backrooms, which came out, was $10 million budget. It made $81 million domestic in the US. Obsession, third week out, has increased every single week. It did $26 million this weekend, and then Mandalorian and Grogu came in number 3, $25 million.
And the Obsession budget is ridiculous. It was $750,000.
Obsession was $750,000.
That's just nuts.
Yeah. Factor in, look, I'm sure everyone did. I think everyone was paid minimum rates and like favors and stuff. So like, I always want to like, when you hear those super low numbers, I always, you don't want to take them as like a model of like, we can make everything for $750. That was, calling in favors and one-offs, but still very low, and is going to make, at the end of the day, probably $200-300 million at the box office.
It's like the Blair Witch moment from 20 years ago again. And it's funny that the horror genre is winning right now, and we all know why. It's because of the current climate. You can't like, horror has the highest rate of return on a small investment, more so than comedy movies, which which have historically declined to the point now where we hardly see a comedy opening anymore. Horror has a built-in fan base, and it just kind of returns on investment in a very predictable way. So unless you're making $100 million movie, your second best option is to make.
But these are still like outlier hits, like big outlier hits, even for the horror genre.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But in general, like looking back over the past 5 years since the pandemic, some of the biggest horror movies, like, there's Talk to Me from those two Australian brothers. You can even roll Stranger Things into a horror genre, right? Like this genre is just successful since the last 5 or 6 years.
I think the takes out of this. So, the kind of general takes has been like, okay, these two lowish budget indie horror film or indie-ish horror films have like beat out a Star Wars movie.
The world is really upside down, isn't it?
You talked about Blair Witch. We have Paranormal Activity. Like, it's not unusual. There have been like horror hit breakout films. I think it's crazier that, a Star Wars film just on its own has not done so hot. And that's more a sign of like people are tired of the franchise, just kind of rehash of stuff that we've had before and are craving something more original
100%.
and unique.
Yeah, putting, Pedro Pascal and like these big names and then Jon Favreau at the helm, like 10 years ago, that would have been an automatic recipe for tons of money to be made at the box. Now, it's like, we'll see about that.
Star Wars used to be, it was rare and, limited to get it. And I think we're just oversaturated. We just got way too much stuff that doesn't feel as special anymore.
And it's not just Disney, right? Like, I just saw the poster release for Supergirl from DC Studios. And my first thought was like, do I really want to go see that? Like, we just got Superman, the new one, like a year or two ago?
It was last summer. Yeah, I mean, because they've kind of had this whole DC reboot to kind of build out this DC universe that, tied into Peacemaker, which the second season also was like okay-ish.
Yeah. I mean, I think Disney should put the Star Wars franchise into like the hands of somebody who's like a complete opposite of what you think of as a big franchise director, and just let them reboot it from episode 1 and then release one every 2 years or 3 years.
You need to give it to like an Alfonso Cuarón or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking even younger than that. Like, there's so many creative filmmakers now that are
Backrooms.
These guys, this guy's 20, but maybe they're not mature enough to helm like $100 million movie, with that sort of budget. But there are a lot of guys in the middle. I'm blanking on some director names, but I think take it like from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, like let those guys have a happy retirement and then just go to town on somebody new and fresh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with Star Wars. I think, maybe just give it a break. Well, they have that other movie, that Ryan Gosling movie coming out next year. Hopefully that'll be fun.
Oh, and the Disney execs should be watching the Star Wars stories and Star Wars Untold and all the AI YouTube channels, because the reason they're so successful is because they get the lore right from like the 60 book series of the Star Wars universe.
I was gonna say, I know there are tons of books that people love too, that were just like, why don't you just adapt these books? Like everyone already loves them. They kind of had there were some theories or ideas where it's just like, just scrap 7 to 9 and just say it's another alternate thing and like redo the 7 to 9 based on the books.
Yeah, and it's not just about maybe taking one book and turning that one book into a movie, but take like take that timeline, just take bits and pieces that actually correspond back to the lore, and that is what's going to keep the fans happy. I think all of the Disney output over the last few years has all been very predictable, except with the exception of Andor. I think Andor is just like a standout in the way it doesn't feel anything like the rest of them.
Yeah. Which reportedly Dave Filoni did not enjoy Andor.
and there was no virtual production on it. Like it was all physically shot. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what people, that was a comment too, where it's just like, man, I'm more upset about Star Wars because I saw how good it could be with Andor. And then it's like, not that. The Star Wars thing, I think that's like, sure, a Disney existential crisis-ish, but like, it's like, okay, they'll be fine. Like, maybe just put it on ice for a few years and like figure something out and come out again and reboot it. The thing that's been more interesting is the success of these smaller films and the two directors, which I also want to talk about because it's been this headliney thing of like, okay, it's the YouTube generation of like directors is here. We went from like the Sundance generation in the 90s and 2000s and the launch of those directors. And then now it's this like YouTube generation. I like it. I think there is like some distinction there though, when we think about this, because YouTube's also so massive and the creator economy is so massive. And what do we mean by that and what could take away from that? Because there was the sort of like online chatter was like, okay, well now you build out your thing on YouTube, validate the audience, and then, you can make the film or you can get funding to make the thing. And then I think there's this other bucket, which is more where these two directors came from, which is making stuff, posting it on YouTube, cutting your teeth there, and then getting signed and doing a deal, which feels a little bit more lightning in a bottle. But just for background, like, so Kane Parson, who did Backrooms, he did the Blender animated Backrooms film that like kind of went viral and in 2022, and then kind of had this whole like world built out. And then I would say this is lightning in a bottle because he was like 16 and then he got signed to make this movie. He's like shooting it. I think he was signed when he was 18. He makes the movie when he's 19. He's 20 now when it comes out. This is just a crazy, like this feels like very crazy one-off kind of thing. Yeah. But he made the film, it got attention on YouTube, but there was no the Backrooms channel. There was no the Backroom audience. There's no like, I'm going to keep making content while we're making the film, and I'm going to take my audience, and that audience is going to like translate to like watching the movie. People are watching this movie because it looks like a cool movie and they're watching it. It's different than the like Mr. Beast YouTube world where it's like, I'm Mr. Beast, I made a channel, I built up an audience, and then I signed a deal with Amazon that is bringing the Mr. Beast brand and making Amazon content, which feels that's more in the bucket of like, build out your channel, validate the content, and then try to get bigger deals with traditional media. Same, even less so with Curry Barker, who did Obsession. He did like a bunch of sketch videos and kind of just made stuff on YouTube, but there was no like Curry Barker YouTube channel. And now, different than the Markiplier, where he like did the content and then got the funding, made his movie, but then brought his audience to like watch the movie.
I don't think this is like a one-to-one with how the music industry operates, because like the music industry is exactly what the Mr. Beast thing you just said is, which is that you build a following online, whether it's a SoundCloud or wherever, and then you just basically sign the record deal, and now you have a built-in audience, and it's very sort of linear. It's like a square peg in a square hole. The movie executives want to see creative output right away, and this is where like pitch viz has been extremely difficult, right? Just to get your project in a state where it's pitchable to the execs who's going to fund it. And I think YouTube has helped these guys accomplish that, regardless of how big their fan base is. Just the fact that an exec can watch a video and then gauge how quality it is.
I mean, yeah, if you're also starting out, it's like, well, now with this overlap of AI, it's like if you can create a sci-fi series, you create the world, you world build, you start actually making it as shorts or as YouTube series, and then it builds an audience and validates. It's like, okay, well, then maybe you can get the funding or pitch it or develop that into an actual series or movie, and you have this world already built and audience somewhat validated.
Right.
Yeah, it's these two, but with the two director guys, it's like I feel like it feels more like YouTube as the replacement of Sundance.
Nice.
Of a Steven Soderbergh.
Those
Tarantino,
guys came up on the film festival circuit, right?
Yeah, they had a hit film. They had a film. They got a Sundance. It became a Sundance hit, and that like launched their
so on. Yeah,
that launched their career. Yeah. And this feels like YouTube has replaced that aspect of film festivals.
That is so true. And the best part about YouTube is a film festival is only for the 500 or so people that attend it. YouTube's for everybody, so anybody can see it. It's a democracy, right? Now,
to slightly contradict my point, Obsession was purchased at Toronto Film Fest for 14 mil. So it played at Toronto Film Fest, got acquired by, did A24 acquire it there, I think? And then got its marketing and really, I'm sorry, not A24. Blumhouse. And then got its,
Well, this is crazy. Like, this doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing what Anora went through. It's like, you got to basically make the movie and then take a gamble on trying to sell it. That's crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the indie film biz.
I mean, like, just for a young director, even coming up with $750,000 in funding is such a big risk, right? Like, that's obviously not his own. I don't think that's his own money.
No, it had funding from a smaller production company, but even for them, that's still a big risk on a like 25.
And the reason I think a lot of films get bought and sold in film festivals is because there is a attached distribution and sales element to, like, Cannes is famous for having Marché du Cannes, which is their distribution side of the film festival. So that's where you're buying and selling your projects.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's a handful of festivals where it's like, yes, there's still, you get your film in there, it gets in front of buyers, and hopefully there's your best case is there's a bidding war and someone buys it, and that's how your film gets acquired and how your financial backers make their money back. But yeah, it's like if you don't get into, there's probably 10 fests where that's still viable, and then every other fest is, more just like fun and let's do a studio, a festival circuit. You can get your film acquired there, but none of these directors launched there. Like they did, like you would see in the past with the directors we just mentioned.
To get like an official selection at Sundance was such a big deal back in the 90s or early 2000s. It's like, oh, wait, who is that person? Oh, and now we hear about the director after the box office, right? Like the whole thing's shifted to go make the thing.
The fact that these got theatrical releases is like impressive as well.
I'm just impressed that Gen Z is got feature film on lock, right? Like, I'm just so happy that
They are going to the movies more than
great.
millennials. Look, also, this other fact that came out, this just came out today. AMC Entertainment saw the highest attendance for May since 2019.
Yeah. I mean, 3 movies at the same time, regardless of how well Mandalorian Grogu did, it still drew people to the theaters, right?
Yeah, it did. It did. But, I mean, I don't know if you, I was looking at theater maps and stuff because I did see Obsession this weekend, and it was harder to get a ticket for that. And then I would check out the Mandalorian seatings, and it was splotchy, pretty, if I wanted to get a good seat, I could. Obsession, I had to see it at 10:30 a.m. because there were, no seats anywhere else for, any of the other screenings.
You saw Obsession? What did you think?
I saw Obsession. It's good. Definitely. It's worth the hype. It's fun. Yeah, it's good.
I want to see it so bad. The trailer freaked me out. I was like, oh God.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's freaky. Yeah, man. So I think, with the bigger picture, this feels like it validates A, the theatrical experience, B, smaller movies still got a good shot.
I wonder if these guys used any AI at all in their sort of early concepting, obviously not Final Pixel or anything.
Oh, for previs?
Yeah, just to kind of, even just using Nana Banana for some shot, like storyboarding and things like that. I would be curious. My guess is they probably have.
Probably have now. I think previs for these films was 2 years ago.
I mean, things were pretty usable 2 years ago.
Nana Banana didn't exist, did it?
You could get basic.
I mean, what's his name? It's pretty good at Blender. I mean, I'm sure he built a lot in Blender.
Yeah. Like
King Parsons.
All of the success, needless to say, at this budget level is without AI. Now, a couple of years from now, what would this landscape look like with this sort of young creative energy? Initiative to fund it yourself and then build it yourself, plus having the capability that AI gives you. If you combine those 3 things, I think that's a trifecta for Hollywood to have energy. Yeah.
Indie budget fantasy, indie budget genres like Obsession, I mean, you could tell it's a low budget-ish because it's in a handful of locations. It's really well made, but most of the film's in a handful of locations, and it's a product of being low budget. Backrooms is, I haven't seen it yet, but 10 million, but. And I know they built a lot of those sets, but still not high, crazy fantasy VFX.
You don't need it. You don't need it. Yeah. I mean, you do.
When you make that low budget Star Wars.
I think we have appetite for both as viewers of movies. We enjoy big VFX heavy movies, right? And at the same time, we also enjoy thought-provoking, very unique takes on familiar ideas. Why is it that it's only A24, Neon, Blumhouse, and some of these alt studios that are funding these cool things, and then the big studios are sort of just doing the same thing they've been doing?
The big studios used to have their independent arms that did they even shut down, or they just don't do as much? There was Focus Features.
Right. Focus is still around. I think that's part of NBCU, if I'm not mistaken.
Blanking. Yeah.
And then Sony Pictures Classic is still around, right?
Miramax, when it existed, was Disney.
Yeah.
They used to have these things and do them and have these kind of smaller arms. I know Warner Brothers did launch a new independent arm that's supposed to focus on this. But yeah, I think these were these smaller studios that were part of arms of the bigger studios. They used to exist to do this kind of stuff, and they just don't as much anymore.
Yeah. And also
maybe this will be a comeback for it. Maybe they'll be like, oh, crap. Hey, we got to start. We could actually make some good money if we just, start funding some $5-10 million projects and make more bets.
We also need a comeback for the different genres. Like I was telling you, it's just become so horror heavy over the last few years because that financially those have been working. But then comedies need to come back. Zombie movies need to come. I don't know. I'm just saying, there's so many other genres.
Yeah. I had fun watching Naked Gun last year, and it was it felt fresh because it was just oh, cool. We just don't really get these types of comedies anymore.
Exactly.
And Scary Movie 6 is coming out in a week or two, and I'm excited about that. Where it's before I don't think I ever saw any of the original ones in theaters, but now it feels so it feels new and fresh. I'm just I definitely want to go to a theater with an audience to see
one thing in the early 2000s that we took for granted was we just thought movies would get better and better, so we didn't really appreciate it as much. Looking back at it, some of the movies from the 2000s, early 2000s, are now absolute gold, and I think Scary Movie 1 is one of them. But we just thought it was a throwaway movie in the same way that Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all those things were.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing them back because they're valuable IP and they were executed a certain way. Yeah, we just took things for granted, man.
I want Scary Movie 6 to succeed because they said if it succeeds, they will most likely greenlight White Chicks 2, which I which I really want.
Okay.
On that note, let's wrap it up.
I was like, can you just
Mic
AI
drop.
the white faces and stuff? I guess you could, yeah.
Links to everything we talked about at denoisepodcast.com.
Thank you for your continued love. It was really nice to meet some of you at AI on the Lot. For those of you who we didn't get to meet, we're here in the comment section, so chime in.
Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you in the next episode.